So in this part of our tutorials, we're going to talk about text files or other different kinds of files. So generally, we're going to see how we can create a file, how we can edit a file like a text file or other files like JSON, or how we can delete a file. So first of all, I'm going to create a text file, and then I'm going to create the Python file in order to edit, create, or delete that text file. So you can create a new file and call it sample.txt, and inside of it I can write hello world, and in the next line I can write this is Python tutorial text file. So I can save this, and so let's create a new Python file, and so I can call it edit text.py, and inside of this we're going to edit or read from this text file. So generally, when we want to work with a text file, we're either going to read from it, we're going to create it, or we're going to update it, edit, modify, and so on. Or there are times that we want to remove that file or remove the contents of that file. So we're first of all, we're going to start working with reading from the file. So we have a function for all of these operations, and the function is open. So we can use it for creating a file, we can use it for reading from a file, or editing and modifying a file. So we also have different methods. So there are times that we want to only read from the file, and if the file does not exist, then we will face an error. There are times that we want to edit a file, or we want to append something to the file, and depending on whether the file exists or not, we are going to modify it. And there are also times that we're going to modify the file, and if it doesn't exist, we're going to create it. Otherwise, we're going to edit the file that does exist. So I'm going to go through all of these methods one by one and see how we can work with the files. So first of all, we're going to read from this text file we've just created, sample.txt. So I can write content equals open, and inside of the parentheses we can write quotation mark and then the name of the text file, sample.txt, not text. Okay, and then I can print the content inside of the text file. So let's save this and run the code. Python 3 edit text.py. Okay, here as you can see, we haven't got what is inside of the text file. We just got some results about the properties of that text file. But if here I add the method that we're looking for, which is R, which is reading from the file. Let's see what kind of result we will get. And if we add R, we will still get the same result, because and the file does exist there, and there are no errors. And here, in order to see what is inside of the content, there are some other codes that we need to add to read from this text file. So here we've printed out content, but we need a method called readLines in order to read from the text files. So we've just simply opened the file without asking for reading the lines of the file. And as a result, we've got the properties of the text file, which is the encoding, which is UTF-8, the mode, which is the read mode here. And here, if you can remember, we didn't at first we didn't add R, but by default, the mode or the method that had been chosen was reading from the file. So if you don't write anything about the method, it will consider it by default as a read method. Anyway, so we want to read from the files of the text, and let me save this and run it. Let's see what we get. It says hello world and \n. This is a Python tutorial text file. As you can see, we've got \n as well, which is because we've gone to the next line when we created this file, and because it is in the same line as the other one, and it is in the console or terminal, we can see this \n. Now suppose that we want to read from a file that does not exist in this directory. So content2 equals open, and inside of it we want to write, for example, sample2.txt, and we want to read from it, so we write nothing inside of this, and then we do the same for this content number 2, and let's see what happens. As you can see, we face an error because the file does not exist. There are also times that we want to create a file, so we don't use the R method. Instead, we use other methods, which isn't only one method. There are a number of them, and I'm going to tell you. So we want to create sample2.txt, and then we want to add something to this file. Here we can either use A or W. A is for appending and W is for writing. There's not a very big difference between these two. Appending does create the file if it does not exist, or appends what it needs to be appended for the file that does exist. So not a very big difference. So let me save this, and after saving this, because we don't want to read it for now, we can comment the read lines of the content2, which is related to the sample2.txt that we're going to create. So let's see if we face any error. As you can see, we face no error, and it creates the file as well. Because the file is empty, I think that we face nothing inside of this. As you can see here, because there is no content inside of this file, we face an error. Also, let's check if we've got any files. Sample2 here, as you can see, we've got sample2 as well, which is an empty file, and it is sample2.txt. we have sample. So using the code, Python code, we've created a new file, a text file, which has no content in it. So we're going to add some contents to the content2, which is the result of creating the sample2.txt. So most of the time, we can write this kind of code in another way. So we can write in Python, we can write with open, and then inside of the parentheses, we can write sample2. And we can also add the method, which is creating the file. So we can use A for appending, and we can write as content2, or it is very much common that they write F instead of this variable that I've just created, but I've written content2 because it doesn't really make a difference which one we write. So in order to write our lines, we can write content2 dot write, And here we can write the kind of line we want to write. So for example, this is the second file created by Python. And so we can open this file, and then we can read from the file as well. So let's see what happens here after we do this. So we face an error, and the reason is we need to close this one and then open it for reading another time, because we haven't opened up this one for reading. We face such an error. So let me just change this one and change also this one to F, content to F for reading the lines. You can also use read, and it will read the entire text for you instead of read lines. So let's see what happens here. So as you can see, for the first one, hello world, and it shows line by line inside a list. If you use the read method, it will read the entire file for you. So here we go. Let's see what is inside of this text file. There's actually nothing. Let me close this one and open it up another time. Probably it changes. So interestingly enough, there is nothing inside of this. We need to figure out why. So let's rerun the code another time. As you can see, it has been printed out for 3 times. So I think that sample2.txt has changed, and yes, it has changed. And here we have a file which is not a txt because I forgot to add txt. So let me just delete this one, which contains all of the writings that we have. So don't forget to write the .txt or any other kind of file it is afterwards, because it's very important. So there we go. Let's open up our txt file, sample2.txt, and here we go. So also, if you want to go to the next line for writing, you can use \n. So here I use \n, and don't mix it up with this one. This is wrong. Use this \. So, and then you can write this is the next line. And that's it. So let's run the code another time. As you can see, it has gone to the next line and it has printed out that one for us. If instead of read, I write here read lines, then let's see what kind of change we will see in printing it out. So here, as you can see, you can see the \n inside of it. Also, because we have written the file twice, as you can see, we have this kind of text printed inside of it twice. So let me delete all of it, save this one, and do it one more time. As you can see, we have \n inside the terminal. If you don't want to see that, you can simply use read, and here you can control the number of lines you want to read. So for example, here I write 1 and here I write 2, and as you can see, we have 2 lines in both of them. So let's see what happens. Because this one we're going to write, let me remove all of the contents, save this one, and let's see what happens. Actually, this one shows the first character, this one shows the second character, not the line. So as you can see, you can only see H, which is the first character of hello world, and this is TH, which is the two first characters of the second file. We don't usually write the number of characters that we want to see, but sometimes it's very much useful. So let me remove this one as well. So here in these two statements, by using with here, we will have the text file automatically closed after getting outside of this with statement. So we open it here, and after we go to the next line without indentation, we will automatically close this. We don't need to write .close. But for this one, when we have no with statement here, we need to close it after using this kind of a statement. So we open the file, and we shouldn't forget to close the file. If we don't close the file, nothing is going to happen, but it is better to do that because we're going to open up this file one more time. We may need to open it up one more time, and there will be too many times of the file being opened up after running the program over and over again, and this is not an efficient way of programming. So never forget to close the files after opening them, or if you use with statement, you don't need to do that. So here we do not need to write content to .close because it will automatically close the file. So let me run this file and see what happens here. There we go. So again, we have this text twice. I can also remove all of them. So there we go. We only have we don't only have a method, we also have W method. So I can open up this file and do the same thing with this one. So with W and A method, we can add, create, or we can modify the text files. So if it does not exist, it will create a new file, or if it does exist, it will modify the file. So this is, I can write, this is the third file created by Python, and also here I can write sample free. There we go. And nothing more. Also, I can write F instead of content 2. So because the last F has been closed and we don't use it anymore, we can define another F with a with statement, just like the if. We had I over and over again because the first I with the for loop had been closed, and we can use it over and over again for the other statements. So anyway, let's create other file, and here, as you can see, we have sample3 text. This is the third file created by Python, and this is the next line. There we go. There's also another method for reading a file, reading lines from a file. So let me copy this one. And that is without using the read method or read function. So here we have F, so we can write the for loop and write the lines of the text file line by line. So I can write for X in F and then print X. So let's see what happens. There we go. So also let us close other printings of the files. So I want to close all of the files that we've created, actually comment them, because we do not want to work with that. We only want to work with the sample3.txt. Also, I want to remove everything inside of sample3.txt, and there we go. So let's run the code, and here, as you can see, we've written inside of the sample3.txt, and then we've printed out all the lines line by line. So this is the second file created by Python. We don't need that one. Let me fix it. So run it another time. Okay, this is the third file created by Python, and the next line, this is the next line. So this is another method of printing out without using the read method or read lines method. There is also another method or function, which is the read line, not read lines, which will print out only the first line of your text file. So here, instead of using the for loop or looping through the lines of the text file, I can write, alternatively, I can write f.readline, and it will only print out the first line of my text file. So print f.readline and save the file, python3 edit text.py, and it, as you can see, it will only print out the first line. This is the third file created by Python. So we've got familiar with different methods of writing, or different functions of writing from a text file, also editing the files. There are different ways to do this. There are some of the items that you need to notice when working with the files, such as closing the file when you do not use the with statement, or using the with statement alternatively not to write the .close function.